The second I rolled through the gates of Oakwood Estates, I felt that unmistakable tingle of being watched. Maybe it was the way the curtains twitched on every other window, or how the street fell quiet as I turned onto the cul-de-sac. But the confirmation came as soon as I parked my brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost in the driveway of my new home. I hadn't even shut off the engine before I saw her in my rearview mirror, middle-aged, short blonde bob, pastel cardigan, designer sunglasses, and storming straight at me with righteous fury. She moved like she owned the pavement, practically vibrating with disapproval. Her cardigan fluttered in the breeze like a battle flag. Without hesitation, she shouted, loud enough to penetrate my closed windows, "Excuse me, who are you? And what are you doing with that vehicle?" I stepped out of my car slowly, keys in hand, and kept my tone pleasant. "Hi there, I'm Jason, the new homeowner at 1542. Just moving in today." She gave me a look that could cut glass, her eyes scanning me from my sneakers to my button-up shirt, like she was inspecting the flaws. Apparently, nothing about me screamed Rolls-Royce owner in her mind. "That's impossible," she barked, folding her arms. "The Millers sold to a young professional. You're barely out of high school." "I'm 21, actually," I said with a polite smile. "And yes, I bought the Miller place. The paperwork finalized last week." Her eyes narrowed. She began circling the car like a shark, taking in every inch of it. "Nobody your age can afford this kind of car unless they've stolen it. I'm calling the police. We don't tolerate criminals in Oakwood Estates." Before I could say another word, she was dialing 911, holding eye contact with me like she expected me to run. I leaned back on my car, unfazed. This wasn't the first time someone judged me by my age or my skin color. As the president of a tech company that just got acquired for 8 figures, I knew how to keep my composure. "Yes, officer," she said into the phone, her voice rising. "Theatrically, there's a suspicious young man with a Rolls-Royce. That vehicle cannot possibly belong to him. I believe this is a grand theft auto situation at 1542 Oakwood Drive. Please hurry before he escapes." I sighed and texted my assistant that I'd be late. So much for a peaceful move-in day. When she ended her call, she gave me a triumphant smile. "The police will be here any minute. I suggest you don't try to leave." "I'm not going anywhere," I replied calmly. "This is my house. That's my car. But I don't believe I caught your name." "I'm Karen Wellington," she said with unmistakable pride. "President of the Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association for 6 consecutive terms. And you definitely don't look like a homeowner in our community." Of course her name was Karen. The universe had a sense of humor. "Well, Karen," I said, pulling out my wallet, "I assure you I'm the legal owner of both this house and this vehicle. Would you like to see the deed? I have digital copies." She dismissed my ID without even looking. "I've seen plenty of fake IDs in my time. The Oakwood HOA has a strict vetting process, and I don't recall approving anyone who looks like you." I took a deep breath. "The HOA doesn't approve buyers, Karen. That's not how real estate transactions work. The Millers accepted my offer. The sale closed legally, and now I live here whether you like it or not." Her cheeks flushed bright red. "We'll see about that. And we'll certainly see about that car. No 21-year-old has that kind of money unless something illegal is going on. Did you hack someone's account? Is this money laundering?" She began circling my car again, snapping pictures from every angle, even the license plate like she was a detective gathering evidence. I noticed a few neighbors stepping out of their homes, watching the drama unfold. Karen seemed to feed off the growing attention. "I've seen this before," she declared. "Young person shows up with luxury items they couldn't possibly afford. Next thing you know, we've got drug deals in our quiet community, not on my watch. I calmly opened my glove box and retrieved the vehicle registration and insurance documents. Karen, I'm a tech entrepreneur. My company was acquired last year. Here's the paperwork proving the car is legally mine, bought from Beverly Hills Auto Gallery. She squinted at the documents but refused to take them. Anyone can forge paperwork these days. My nephew works in cybersecurity. He says criminals are getting more sophisticated. That's when the police cruisers pulled into the cul-de-sac. Karen's face shifted from hostile to smug, like she'd just been validated. She straightened her cardigan and struck a damsel in distress pose as the officers approached. Officers, thank goodness, she said, rushing to them. I caught this young man red-handed. He's claiming to live here, but I'm the HOA president. I know every resident. He's clearly a fraud. One officer older with a grey mustache turned to me. Sir, we got a report of a stolen vehicle. Can we see your license and registration, of course? I replied, handing over the documents. I'm Jason Chen. I just closed on this house and was moving in when I was accused of stealing my own car. The younger officer reviewed my paperwork while the older one kept an eye on Karen, who hovered behind him like an overzealous hall monitor. He's obviously using fake ID, Karen chimed in. I personally approve every new homeowner application. He would never qualify. And that car, it's a $300,000 vehicle. He's barely legal. The older officer raised an eyebrow but stayed professional. Mum, please step back and let US verify the information. The younger officer finished his check. Everything matches. He said quietly to his partner, vehicles registered to him, no flags, insurance is current. House deed shows transfer recorded last month. Karen must have heard because she grew louder. That's impossible. Check again. He must have hacked the system. People like him don't drive cars like that. The subtle people like him didn't go unnoticed. The older officer turned to her, his tone suddenly colder. Ma'am, what exactly do you mean by people like him? Karen faltered, then stammered, young people. 21-year-olds don't have Rolls-Royces unless something shady is going on. I'm protecting the neighborhood's property values. That's when a neighbor across the street walked over older. Guy, grey hair, calm expression. Officers, sorry to interrupt, but I think you'll want to see this. He held up his phone. My doorbell camera recorded the whole exchange. I was watching from my office. You'll want to hear what she said. Before you arrived, the younger officer asked, what language exactly? Well, the neighbor hesitated, glancing at me. She said, and I quote, we don't need his kind lowering property values. I'll make sure he's removed one way or another. There were other comments I'd rather not repeat. Karen paled. That's taken completely out of context. I was talking about community standards. The older officer returned my documents and offered a professional but sincere apology. Sir, everything checks out. You're free to continue moving into your home. Then he turned to Karen. Mrs. Wellington, may I speak with you privately? They stepped aside, and I could see Karen gesturing wildly. More neighbors had come out, and the mood had clearly shifted. Disapproving glances aimed at Karen now, not me. A few minutes later, the officer began writing something down. Karen's voice suddenly rose, high-pitched and panicked. You can't be serious. I was doing my civic duty. I'm the HOA president. Then came the shocker. The officer calmly recited Miranda rights to her as she stood frozen. Karen Wellington, you are under arrest for filing a false police report and for verbal harassment with discriminatory intent. Both are misdemeanors. This is outrageous, she shouted as she was escorted to the cruiser. I was protecting our community. This is reverse discrimination. I'll have your badge." The neighbors stood in silence, many openly stunned. Karen, who had ruled the HOA with threats and nitpicking for years, was finally held accountable. Her last words before the cruiser door closed were, "This is a misunderstanding. Call my attorney." A week later, I received a letter from the HOA. Karen had been immediately suspended, and at an emergency meeting the vote was unanimous 27-0 for permanent removal. She was also fined $5,000 and ordered to complete community service. According to gossip, her real estate agency put her on leave after multiple clients pulled their listings. When I saw her at the local grocery store weeks later, the change was striking. No swagger, no eye contact. Her face turned red as she ditched her cart and hurried out the door. And just like that, the reign of the HOA tyrant ended, toppled not by force, but by her own arrogance. The look on her face said it all. She still couldn't believe her power had evaporated so completely.